tonight.
And it's enough to lift our voice and sing
To the living God.
to the living God.
No one can deny.
No one can deny
that Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ is the Most High.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Man, so we've been going through this awesome series in which God is clearly showing us what he meant in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verses 7 when he looks at Timothy and he says to Timothy, I'm not giving you a spirit of fear. I know sometimes you may have some fears. That's a natural thing. I know sometimes you may feel fearful. That's fine. But I haven't given you a spirit of fear. You're not supposed to stay there in that fear and allow that fear to paralyze you, allow that fear to stop you from moving forward in your calling, to allow that fear to in any way affect your life. He said that spirit of fear thing, I'm not giving you that. But what I have given you is power, love, and sound judgment. He tells us whenever you feel this spirit of fear thing, that's not coming from me. That actually is coming from the enemy. That is actually coming from the devil himself. But the power that comes in to get you through every situation in your life, when you look back over your life and you see how powerful God has been in your life, the love that comes in and keeps it all together for you and keeps you encouraged and keeps you propped up on every side, that love is from God. And this thing called self-discipline, this thing that actually, when you can actually do the right thing, you can actually change some bad habits. You can overcome some generational curses. You can overcome some addiction. He said all that comes from me. And as I began to think about the disciples and all those people who would have been a part of the first church and what they would have seen, what would have happened to them during this weekend. Oh my goodness, you know they had to be filled with fear. You know they had to be filled with concern. Even Jesus, when he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, he's sitting there and he's asking God, he's saying, God, take this away from me. His fear becomes so powerful that the Bible says he literally begins to sweat blood. That's a lot on your mind, right? When you're sitting there and you've got all of humanity on your shoulders and you're sitting there and you're saying, God, do I really have to go through this? They're going to beat me. They're going to rip the meat out of my back with that cat o' nine tails. They're going to flog me. They're going to humiliate me. They're going to call me out of my name. They're going to call me names I've never heard of. They're going to do things to make me look bad. They're going to put a coat over me that's purple. They're going to call me the king of the Jews. They're going to hit me in the head. Somebody's going to slap me. Somebody's going to spit on me. Do I have to do this? They're going to take a crown not made out of gold. They're going to take a crown made out of thorns, and they're going to put that on the most vascular part of my body, and I'm going to see the blood flow down through my eyes. Listen, the blood is going to get into my eyes. It's going to burn so much. I've got to go through so much. Do I have to do this? Is there another way, God, for me to save the world? But he doesn't get caught up in the spirit of fear. He immediately says, not my will, but your will. I hear you, God. I've got to move forward. I don't want to do this. It's going to be hard. Yes, I have some fear. Yes, I have some concern. Yes, I fully understand what I signed up for. But I love these people so much that I'm willing to move out of my fear and move into courage. I'm willing to pick up my 110-pound cross and carry it all the way to my death. I'm willing to allow the spikes to be put into my hands and my feet. I'm willing to watch them gamble for my clothes. I'm willing to watch them taunt me as I'm up on this cross all throughout the day, naked, not like what you see on the church fan or in the stained glass of the church, naked. So the whole world can see me in my nakedness, in my brokenness. And I've got the power to call down angels from heaven. I've got the power to immediately crush all of my enemies, but I've got to stand still and I've got to take it for these people, because if I don't take it just the way it's prescribed, these people, they're going to die in their sin. And I know that some won't accept me. And I know that some will listen to my words and do the opposite. And I know that some will deny me, even my own friends, the closest ones that you gave me, the 12 and the 70. They're all scattered right now. I'm in this garden. I've got 3 of the best with me, and they're over there asleep right now. And I'm doing this for them, and they can't even stay awake. And this week, I want to talk with you from this fear, and I think we all get into this fear, this fear of being forsaken. We get into a place in our life with certain sins. We get into a place in our life with certain issues. We get to a place in our life where we look at our situation and we say, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why can't I get over this loss of this loved one? Have you left me here to suffer? Why can't I get over this addiction? I've done everything that you told me to do. I read my Bible. I've been going to church, but yet and still, I still find myself in front of that computer at nighttime looking at stuff I have no business looking at. Why have you forsaken me? I see what you're doing in the marriages around me, and yet and still my husband or my wife, we can't even get along. We're not even serving in the same place together because I can't get her or I can't get him to even come in and be with me. Why have you forsaken me? I've had this hurt, this pain in my body for all of these years, and I've been praying and I've been fasting, God, and I've been going to you and I've been trusting you and I've been up all night talking to you and I've been praying and I've had folk praying for me. And still this ache in my body, this cancer, yet and still whatever the case may be in my body is not changing. Why have you forsaken me? I think all of us, we struggle with this fear that nobody's coming, that there's no emergency, that there's no ambulance at the fire station, that there's nobody who's going to come and put your fire out, that the fire truck is gone somewhere else and your house is going to burn down, right? That we're forsaken, that we don't have the promises of God. And we look around and we see all those things. We've heard the promises. We look around and we see people operating in the promises. But in this particular area of your life, you have fear that God's not going to fix it. He's not going to come through for you. And if you're honest with yourself, this fear makes it hard for you to worship. This fear makes it hard for you to function. This fear, you're constantly thinking about this fear. You're constantly looking at this situation in your life, this thing that you can't get to change, this thing where you think that God has completely left you, has forsaken you. You don't see the power. You don't see the love. You don't see the self-discipline. And the fear is coming in. Think about these disciples. Think about them. This night, they've been hearing all these wonderful promises. Think about this. All these things that Jesus has been telling them about this peace, about this love, about this discipline that they have. He's been telling them all these things about his word, about his wisdom. Think about all he had been promising. He's talking about this kingdom that is going to come to the earth. He's talking about all these different things. And these people on this night have just watched their Savior, the person that they put their trust in. For some of them, the person that they left their jobs and their families for. They left jobs. They didn't just come on Sunday and Saturday and, we get to complain if we throw a Tuesday night in there or Wednesday night in there. They left their jobs. Some of them left their families. And now they're sitting there and they're thinking to themselves, my God, why have you forsaken me? Friday, they watch him come off of this brutal death off of the cross. Saturday, they're in confusion. What is going on? But thank God that there's a Sunday. Let me just talk to somebody for a second. There's a Sunday coming in your life. Don't you feel forsaken. Don't you think for 1 second that God has forgotten about you. Don't you think for 1 second that God is not going to help you through whatever issue that you struggle with. We serve a mighty God. He's full of power. He's full of love. And he's full of sound judgment. No matter what you struggle with, we serve a God that can get us through every situation in our lives. And so something miraculous happens. They get up that morning. They're on their way to the tomb. Mary gets to the tomb. And something miraculous happens. I just want to read that with you for a second. Just kind of go through the scripture with you for a second. It says, on the first day of the week, first day of the week, Sunday being the first day, Saturday being the Sabbath day, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early. Look at this right here. While it was still, what? Dark. I'm going to pause there for a second because God hit me with power on this. Listen, sometimes we are waiting on the light to be shining on our situation. Sometimes we're sitting there thinking, listen, I'm still a mess. I still can't see the light yet. But listen, when she gets to the tomb, the light hadn't come out yet, but yet and still God's been working. God is working in somebody's situation. Listen, you're going through something. You're suffering with something. God is working in your situation. Don't worry. Don't have fear. God has the ability. Listen, he has the ability to break the generational curse with you. He has the ability to change the whole family, not through somebody else. I'm talking about you. And although you might be in the situation, it may look dark right now. You need to know that God sometimes works his best in the dark. Listen, sometimes God moves, especially when we can lay down and slumber and sleep and when we can sit down and get out the way. He works so much in the midnight hour. Listen to me, somebody. Stop looking at your current situation and allowing it to determine your destination. So stop looking at your current situation and allowing it to be your destination. Because God has something better than where you are currently. We continue to move forward toward him. We continue to take steps toward him. We continue to operate in his power. We continue to operate in his love. We continue to operate in his self-discipline. It don't happen overnight, but through adversity, through the things that you're faced with in the midnight hour, through the pain, through the hurt, through the discouragement, through the disappointment, through the ugly things that they said to you. That's where your power is coming from. God's making you stronger. Yeah, you made some mistakes. We're not going to ignore the fact that you probably made some mistakes, and I'm not going to absolve you. That's not my job. There's only one that can forgive sins. But what I am going to say to you is, don't get stuck there. Know that daylight is coming inside of your situation. Daylight is coming inside of your marriage. Daylight is coming as you raise those children. I know it's hard right now, parents. Now, some of you guys feel like you on Friday every day. I know sometimes you feel like you on Saturday in that state of confusion every day. But listen to me. I can tell you guys, because I've been through it. Sunday is coming in your parent. And listen to me. Listen, there's going to be a time for celebration and a time for rejoicing. All you got to do is love those children. Let them know who God is. That's all you can do. Plant as many seeds as you can. Let him worry about the harvest. See, we get so caught up in the harvest. How many folk like my post? How many folk came to church? How many folk? What are my kids doing? What their grades look like? You just keep planting. See, when we begin to judge ourselves on how many seeds we plant, then God can send the increase. God can send the rain. Just keep planting the seeds. He said, while it was still dark, she came to the tomb. She saw that the stone had been removed. Matthew 28 says that an angel came down, this beautiful angel. The angel had so much power in his appearance that the men that were guarding the tomb shook and died. When his feet hit the ground, an earthquake happened, moved the door out of the way, and that Jesus rose and came out. So she ran to Simon Peter And to the other disciple, talking about John, this is John's book, the one Jesus loved. Now, I want to stop there for a second because John wrote this. There's no evidence that Jesus loved John anymore except for in his own writings. Let me tell somebody this real quick. The pen is always mightier than the sword. He said, the one that Jesus loved, and said to them, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb. And we don't know where they have put him. That jumped off the page to me because she's operating in fear. And she doesn't even realize that the promise that God has made her is actually really happening, that everything that God had told her, it's actually happening now. Instead of her thinking, he's risen, he's alive, God, the Lord is alive, she's thinking somebody's stolen him, he's not there, something foul has happened. And listen to me, so many times in our lives, when God is moving in our life, we look at the thing that's now gone. We look at the thing that's no longer in the place where we used to go. And we think, God, what are you doing? What has somebody done to me? And what God is doing is he's moving some stuff. He's resurrecting some stuff so that it can get out of your way. He says that at that, Peter and the other disciple, talking about John, the person who wrote this, went out, heading for the tomb. The two were running together, but check out what John says. But the other disciple, talking about John, outran Peter and got to the tomb first. Now, why is John tripping like that, right? The pen is mightier than the sword. He said, he saw, stooping down, he saw the linen clothes lying there, yet he didn't go in. Let's go a little bit further. He says, then following him, Simon Peter came also. He entered the tomb and he saw the linen cloths, the cloths lying there. The wrapping that had been on his head was not lying with the linen cloths, but was folded up in a separate place by itself. So this is how it works. When a person would have died during this time, his family would have been responsible for basically anointing his body with these special types of spices and oils in order so that his body would be preserved as best as possible. They would be responsible for wrapping them, kind of like a mummy. You know, we watch the movies and the mummy walks out and it's got all this stuff wrapped on them. They would have done the exact same thing. The family members in this case would have had to literally close his eyes. Most of the people who died on crosses died with their eyes open. And the final thing that they would have done is they would have taken basically a napkin, a linen napkin. And they would have placed that linen napkin on top of his head. Matter of fact, there's a napkin now in northern Italy that people that they swear by, and they say this is Jesus' napkin. This is the napkin. It's got an imprint in it. Matter of fact, most of what we see now as far as images of Jesus come out of the imprint on this napkin, this linen napkin. And so what Peter sees is he sees all this stuff that they would have wrapped him in. And it's all been just pulled off of him and it's thrown to the side. But he sees this linen napkin. It's off in another place by itself and it's been folded up neatly. Now let me talk to you for a second, because this linen napkin that we're talking about has been a source of conflict between in the secular world as well as from a theology standpoint. This is the napkin that the disciples would have pointed to and said, we didn't steal his body. Because what thief you know gonna come in your house, take your TV, take your dresser, take your couch, and then fold some laundry while they're in there. From a theological standpoint, though, there's still some debate about whether or not this napkin being folded means anything. You have one school of thought, and they completely say, this is not the right thing. This is not even a good interpretation as a folded napkin. That this doesn't mean anything to anybody. And then you have another school of thought. And they believe that everything that is inspired by the Holy Spirit in the writings of the Holy Spirit has has something to do with us today. The people who believe that everything that's written, they base this off of this thing called the master-servant relationship. Imagine this for a second. You're going to understand a lot of this because you see it all the time. You go to those expensive restaurants. When you come into, if you're a master and you got these servants, what the servant does is they come and they set the table. That's where we get all our etiquette from. This fork for salad, this fork for regular. We got this knife for butter, this knife for cutting steak. You got all these different things on the table. And it would be the servant's responsibility to set all that thing up just like the master likes it. And the final touch that he would add to it would be this linen napkin. It'd be this linen cloth that'll be there. This cloth has a purpose. First of all, this cloth is used for him to wipe his hands with, clean his mouth with, keep the food off of him. He may lay it in his lap, keep the food off his clothes. But this napkin also is used to communicate to the servant. See, after the table is set, the food is on the table, the servant would go out, somewhere out of sight, and he would just wait. That's why we call them waiters. He would just wait to see if he's needed. And he would watch everything that the master did. See, during this time, this was like going to Ruth Chris, right? Because you would have servants and you would be feeding them. They'd be living with you. You'd be giving them health care. And so they would you think your Ruth Chris experience is something? Imagine this, man. You're the master and you've got these servants around. And so he's just standing out there to the side and he's watching every move the master makes and he's waiting for commands and he's looking at the master and the master would come in and he would take his napkin. Oh, I wish I had a napkin. He would take his napkin. He would lay it on his lap. He would begin to eat starting from the left outward. Y'all know this, right? Don't you start on the right hand side with that dessert spoon trying to eat something. You got to start with the salad and work your way around. Now check this out. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. He would look at that master and what he did with that napkin. He would be focused on that napkin because that napkin would let him know when he was finished. If the master took the napkin off of his lap, cleaned his hands, wiped his mouth, got it off his head, whatever, wadded it up, throwed it on the plate, the servant would know that the master is finished. He's done. I can come in now. I can get the plates off. I can move to the next course. But let's just say that master got a telephone call and needed to step away from the table, or something important happened. Somebody rang the doorbell, or he had to go to the bathroom. What that master would do is he would take that napkin, fold it up, lay it in his seat. And what that would communicate to the servant is, I'm not done yet. I'm not finished yet. I still got some work to do. I still got some places to go. I still got some people to save. And let me tell you something today. I believe in my heart that God is communicating to us today that he's not done yet. Don't you give up on God, because he's not going to give up on you, because he is able to step into every situation of your life. He's able to move in every situation of your life. I don't care whether the napkin is interpreted right or wrong. I'm here today to tell you that I know a God that is not finished yet. He's not finished with you. Stop looking at your current state and thinking that you are a finished product, because God is just beginning. I don't care how old you are. He's just beginning. You got joy coming. You've got peace coming. You've got this power coming. You've got this self-discipline coming. You've got love. Listen, guys, love is in your future. Because he's not finished, you have the opportunity to experience grace that forgives your failures and your sins. Stop getting hung up on the mistakes that you made and the sins that you've been a part of, and start focusing on the fact that God is not finished with you. Amen. Look what it says here in Romans 8, 1 and 2. He says, therefore, there is what? No condemnation. Y'all better say it like y'all mean it. No condemnation. For those who are in who? Christ. Because through Christ Jesus, the law of the Spirit who gives life has what? You are free. You're no longer bound. Listen, you're not stuck in the situation. You've got grace to get you through every situation in your life. God's not finished with you. Listen, you're free. You're no longer bound by the issues of your life. You're free. Not only do we get the opportunity to experience this grace, but we also get this courage that conquers every fear in your life. No matter what you go through, and you're going to go through some things, God gives you courage. You don't have to be the wimp. You don't have to sit back. Oh, woe is me. Oh, I'm hurting. I'm confused. No. You have power to conquer every single situation in your life. Look what he said. Look what Jesus says in John 16. He says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. You will go through some stuff. You will have some tribulations. You will have some trials in this life. This is a broken world. You're going to have some people going to hurt you. You're going to have some people going to come against you. But be courageous. Have courage in the midst of your situation in your life. Have courage to step out on faith. Have courage to trust and believe that God is going to come through in your life. Why? Because He has already conquered. He's already conquered the situation. You're already victorious. You just don't know it yet. Not only do we have courage, but we have this power. He says, I haven't given you a spirit of fear, but I've given you this power. He says, you got this power that gives you strength in every place where you're weak. Look what Paul says. He says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. Paul went to God. Paul went to God, went to Jesus over and over again. He says at least 3 times where he went to Jesus. He said, listen, I've got this thorn in my side. I've got this issue. And we don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's this issue. And I don't want to live like this no more. And I don't want to be like this no more. But I don't have enough power to do this. Can you please take this out of me? And what God communicates to Paul is, he said, don't worry about it. Because my grace is sufficient to help get you through any struggle in your life. He says, for power is perfected in your weakness. You're here with me now, talking to me now. You're here asking for my help now. I hadn't seen you for a while, but because of this weakness, now I see you and I get to spend time with you. And listen, anytime you get weak, you need to understand that I've got power to get you through your weakness. Therefore, I will most gladly boast, is what Paul says. In all my weaknesses, I'm not going to try to hide who I am and try to make people think I'm something that I'm not, so that Christ's power may reside in me. Check this out. So I take pleasure in my weaknesses. I take pleasure in insults. I don't care what people say about me. I don't care about the fact that I don't have it all together no more. I'm not going to waste my time in catastrophes and worrying about how I'm going to get through this and get through that, when I know that every single situation I've been through, that mama and them went through, that grandmama went through, God showed up. So I'm not going to worry about persecutions, people coming at me unnecessarily, even when I'm doing the right thing. I'm not going to worry about the pressure of my life. Why? Because of Christ. Because I know that when I'm weak, then I'm strong. I know when I get to the point where I can't take another step, that the next step that's being taken is not my power, but it is the power of the Holy Spirit operating inside of me. See, listen, when I have to depend on myself, I'm worried, I'm concerned. But when I know that last step I took was through the power of the Holy Spirit, that He is actually listening to me, that He's actually paying attention to me. When I know that last step that I took is God's, then I know that I can persevere. Because listen, as long as I move forward, He'll do the walking. As long as I look forward, He'll do all the talking. As long as I look forward, He'll correct the stuff around me. And when He doesn't, He'll give me a peace that surpasses all understanding. I don't have to worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Amen. Make my request known to God. And the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard my heart and my mind in Christ Jesus. We also got this love that makes us victorious. It says, who can separate us from the love of Christ? Can affliction, can anguish, can persecution, can famine, can nakedness, can danger, can somebody with a gun? As it is written, because of you, we are being put to death all the day long. We are being counted as sheep to the slaughter. No. In all these things, in the affliction, in the anguish, in the persecution, in the famine, in the nakedness, in the hard times, through the bills, through the raising of the children, through the neighbors giving me issues, through the stuff that's going on at my job and them folk that are trying to come after me, through those family members who are persecuting you, who are saying ugly things to you, who are trying to control you, who are trying to manipulate you. Through all these things, I'm more than victorious through him who he loves me. I've got the victory not because I'm smart. I got the victory not because I'm from the right background. I got the victory not because I got a degree or a title. I've got the victory because I've got a Christ who loves me. And he loved other people too. I'm sure he loved everybody out here, but I know that he loves, listen to me, he loves me. Not only do you get this love that makes it, but you get this self-discipline that protects your legacy. Look what Paul says. He says, instead, I discipline my body by bringing it under strict control. I follow the rules. I try my best to live a life that brings Christ glory. Because he died for me. He went into a tomb for me. Listen, he was beaten for me. Listen, he was flogged for me. He was spat on for me. Listen, I can't deal with that. I think I probably can handle the flogging over to being spat on. This spitting thing is just too much for me. And when I get into situations of my life, I'm willing to fully dedicate myself. Listen, I'm all in. He got spat on for me. I'm all in. He got beaten. He got humiliated. He died for me. I'm all in. I'm willing to give up some of myself. I'm willing to have self-control. Besides, I learned that the more self-control I give, the more peace I get. The more power I get, the more love I get, the more my life operates in a better way. He says, so that after preaching to others, I myself will not be disqualified. He says, listen, I'm going to do this thing right because I don't want to be walking around telling my kids what they got to do. You know, we grew up in those houses where parents said, do as I say. Oh, y'all grew up, okay, so y'all from Alabama too? Y'all from, oh, wow. Do as I say, not as I do. No. I want to be the person that says, do as I say and as I do. So, there are three things that we can take out of this. Three things that we can take out of this whole servant-master relationship that I think point back to God. First of all, you need to understand that Jesus is the master, that he rose, that tomb door opened up. But listen, if that tomb door wouldn't have opened from the outside, he was going to kick it out from the inside. He is God with all power in his hands. He went into that tomb a man, but he came out, the Bible says, with all power in his hand, and he's sitting at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Listen, he is waiting to judge the quick and the dead. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even to death of the cross. For this reason, look what God did, because he humbled himself, because he was obedient even to death. For this reason, God highly exalted him. He's the master, guys. And gave him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow, of those who are in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. This is to the glory of God. Listen to me. He is the master of our life. We've got to get into the place where we put him in the master's role. We're serving him. Servants don't tell the master what they want to do. Servants don't tell the master what they can or what they can't do. You know what servants do? They serve the master's wishes. If God is speaking to your heart and he's telling you that you need to change something, or he's telling you that you need to give up something, and you're thinking that you're forsaken, that you can't change it, that you can't give it up, I'm here to tell you today, you can. You have a master. Listen, he's gone through. He walked the earth just like us. He knows what it means to be tempted. He knows what it means for folk to make you so angry that you want to forget that you're a Christian for just a few minutes. He knows what it's like for you to be disturbed. He knows what it's like to be broke, never had a house. He never probably was out of a 100-mile radius of his house that he grew up in. Didn't have a degree. But yet and still, more books are written about him than anybody in the history of man. He says, he's the master. Not only is he the master, but you need to hear this today. Somebody needs to hear this today. God is not finished with you. Paul says, I am sure of this, that he who started a good work in you, listen, the God that started a good work in you, listen to me, he will carry it to completion. He is not finished with you. Stop looking in the mirror and thinking that you're a finished product. You're not a finished product. Listen, God is not finished with you. Stop looking at your past and thinking that that's going to determine your destination or your future. No, you're not finished yet. You made some mistakes, sure you have, but you need to understand that God is not finished with you. And let me talk to somebody else. God's not finished with those sinners around you and those people around you who don't know him. And that is why he calls you to evangelize, to pull them into the kingdom and to lift up Christ in such a way that he draws all men to him so that he can do the saving, so that he can do the fixing, so that he can do the healing. He says that God is working on you until the day of Christ Jesus, until Christ returns. Don't you give up on God, because he's not giving up on you. He's not finished with you. He's changing stuff inside of your life. If you spent more time looking at what good God has done to you instead of looking at the bad things that have happened to you, you would be able to see God is even moving in the midnight hour in your life. The final thing that you need to get from that example is he's coming back. See, when that napkin is folded, that communicates to the servants that, listen, not only am I not finished, but I'll be back in just a second, because I'm going to finish what I started. Look at this verse right here. It says, let us rejoice and give him glory. For the wedding of the Lamb has come, and his bride has made herself ready. He's talking about the church. He's talking about this big supper of the Lamb that's going to happen. She has on fine linen, bright and clean. It was given to her to wear. Then the angel said to me, write this: blessed are those who are invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb. And added, these are the true words of God. I want to just talk to you for a second, because there's going to be a coming back of God. I'm believing that this wedding supper that he's talking about, the Lamb, where he marries the church, I'm believing that Jesus is going to sit at the head of the table. I'm believing that once that dinner is over with, he's going to take his napkin, he's going to wipe his hands, he's going to clean his mouth, he's going to throw that napkin in the center of the table. And I'm just crazy enough to believe that when he does that everybody who's not saved, there won't be no getting saved at that point. Everybody who hadn't given their life to Christ, there won't be no giving at that point. And so what I want to encourage you with today, I want to encourage you, I want to exhort you. If you have any doubt in your mind, if you're backslidden, if you're away from God, if you've never accepted Christ, if you were thrown in the water as a child and you never really understood Christ until you became an adult, I'm going to invite you today to come and give your life to Christ. If that means that you're coming back to him, then let's do it. Let's make sure that you are that you're invited to this dinner. If you've never given your life to Christ, if you have never said, baptize me, somebody else said that for you? we got to get you in the water. It's our goal as a church. We're uplift. Our goal is to lift up Christ so that he can draw as many people to him as possible. Listen, if we had to baptize every week, I'd be okay with that. If you're separated from God in any way, I want to pray for you. But it's going to require for you to come forward. This week, I want you focused on this. I know that I have already won because I decided to choose the Son. When I made the decision in my life that I was going to make Jesus the head of my life, that I was going to make him my master, that I was going to trust in him, that I was going to allow him to do his finished work. I'm not going to stand in the way any longer of the work that he's doing inside of me. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to do everything. See, I've decided that no more playing church, no more looking saved and not really being saved, no more hiding stuff, this addiction, no more hiding these issues in my life. But I really want you, Jesus. I really want you to come into my life. I really want you to be the master of my life. I really want you to operate inside of me. I really want you to protect my legacy. I really want the power, God. I really want the love, God. I really want the self-discipline. And the moment you say that, he comes right in. Listen, the peace that surpasses all understanding comes in with him. It doesn't mean that you won't go through trials. It doesn't mean that from that point going forward, you won't make any more mistakes. What it means is that you just punched your ticket in for the wedding feast. To God be the glory. Amen.
Here we stand in the presence of our Savior.
It's an honor
And it's an honor to lift our voice and sing
to the living God.
to the living God.
No one can deny
No one can deny
that Jesus Christ
that